always a delight to have you join us on your must-watch, must-listen to current affairs program on television, Politics Today on independent television and radio. From wherever you're watching, welcome on board the program. Well, this last week of May is a tempestuous one, and that's because political parties are doing their best to see how they can beat the June 3rd deadline for the conduct of the primaries and for their candidate list to emerge. One part of it that is quite interesting and is attracting a lot of talking across the country is a debate over should power remain in the north or should we shift to the south? If it's shifting to the south, what part of the south should we go to? There's no going saying the fact that power needs to shift from the north to the south. But there are a whole lot of permutations going on how this should be. For some others, we should really be talking about the Constitution, particularly the 1999 Constitution, and how it affects the unity of the country against the background of certain undercurrents that are ravaging the country, talking about insecurity specifically. These are lots more we'll be looking at in the next couple of minutes. As usual, our studio line will be open, so you can also call and lend your voice to the discussion today on the program. I'm very privileged to be in the midst of learned friends, and by extension, I'm also learned. Let me welcome very specially Barrister Matthias Obayiwana. Barrister Matthias, a legal practitioner, is also a public affairs commentator. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sonny. Good morning, viewers and listeners.
We also have with us in the studio Barrister Abraham of Yahweh, human rights lawyer, constitutional lawyer. Thank you for joining us, Barrister of Yahweh.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and thank you, listeners, as well.
The Executive Director of Freedom of Information Council is here, Barrister President Aigbokham. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And also joining us via Zoom from Warri in Delta State, let me thank very specially the President of National Association of Human Rights Lawyers, Barrister Kesley Omo Irabo. Barrister Omo Irabo, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. My people, good morning.
Okay, let's get into the heart of our conversation today. Barrister Obayiwana, let me start off with you. Ordinarily, should we even have any debate, any discussion, any conversation on whether or not power should shift from the south to the north? If we shouldn't have, why is that such a dominant factor in the presidential primaries of the major political parties ahead of the 2023 election?
Yes, ordinarily, every Nigerian has a right to aspire to any position in this country, whatever part of the country that are coming from. Now, Nigeria being a multi-ethnic society or nation, it is understandable that we should not have power concentrated in the hands of the few. In Chapter 2 of our Constitution, which is the fundamental objective and the principle of state policy, the government of the state is said to be organized in such a way that you do not concentrate power in the hands of a few. Now, that is why the gentleman agreement came forth, because it is not there in the Constitution that, there's constitutional presidency. Yeah. So the North can have his own share after some time, it comes to the South. It is not there in our Constitution. But it's a fundamental objective and the principle that you must not consider that power in a particular region. So I'd like to go around. Now the North has had their fair share of 8 years. And we have all seen what has been happening in terms of insecurity, and all of that, because with the presidency, handling the issue with kid glove, that is my opinion. And the feeling that we had, the body language, is that those persons who are befingered at the perpetration of this violence, are related closely to Mr. President, and so he does not want to come down too hard on them. So that is why at this moment like this, every Nigerian is saying, look, power must shift, to the south. So let them also have somebody out there who can really handle this issue, seriously. So for me, power needs to shift to the south at a time like this, whether to the southeast, south-south. For me, it should go to the southeast, because they have not had a taste of of the presidency since our democracy evolved. So it should move to the southeast. Now the argument has been democracy is a game of numbers.
Yeah.
So if you are saying power should shift, where can we have the cooperation of the north in this equation? So if you pick a candidate from the southeast, from the south, are we sure that candidate will win the election if more the population comes from the north? But the point is that is it really true that more the population comes from the north? Because you look at when it comes to voting period, there are instances, several instances where underage persons are allowed to vote in the north. In the south, they don't allow us underage persons to vote. You see a child of 13, 12 queuing up to vote, and they'll be allowed to vote. No matter the complaint to INEC, they will look the other way and allow them to vote. And at the end of the day, you see there are more population than we do. So it is the adult population in the south that always count in the election. They don't allow the underage. So if you also allow us to put our underage children on the, on the queue to go and vote, I'm sure we'll balance out. So the idea of saying, okay, because there are more, then if you pick a candidate from the south or southeast,
you may not have the chance.
You may not have the chance of prevailing. That is what the political parties are looking at.
Let me get to Barrister Kesley Omerabo. Barrister Omerabo, you've been following the events characterizing the journey to 2023 as it relates to the 2023 election. The onus is actually on the political parties to make a decision. Are you in any way bothered about some of the feelers that are going out there in the public space ahead of the presidential primaries as to how the power equation will be between the north and the south? Barrister Omerabo.
Yeah, I will tackle this issue legally, politically, and morally.
Okay.
Legally speaking, if anybody thinks that there's no such provision in the Constitution, no, that's not so true. Section 318 is very specific, and section 14 of the Constitution talks about federal character. I say for the purpose of this, that power should rotate, appointment, elected positions should go around in such a place that everybody will have a sense of belonging in this federation. Not only have a sense of belonging, but cooperation and loyalty of all members of the country, people should be given a sense of belonging, to know that they are part of the federation. That's the constitutional provision. And now look at it politically. There have been already political arrangements that when the North has it for 8 years, it goes back to the South. Like the last speaker just said, I am intertwined with him, that we should at least think of it in our mind. Are the Igbos not part of Nigeria? Since the Biafran Civil War in 1967 to 1970, the war is still being fought in another form. The Easterners be allowed at least to take power, so they have a sense of belonging. You see insurrection everywhere. You see IPOD fighting that they want self-determination. Everybody has the right to self-determination. If you cannot accommodate them, the federation, let them go. Then if you want to accommodate them, do not let them see that the command is in their own country. And now, how can we say everybody must go to the presidency? No. But the problem I have, when it's given to this Northerners, they will have a consensus candidate or one who will contest. Now it's given to Southerners, the Northerners will be changing the South, and over 10, 20, 30, as far as I met it, when they go with just one person to the primaries, what they change. The North will get it, and that will bring agreement, more agitation, more fighting. It is a hard time we people amend our constitution. If we do not have a sense of belonging with minorities, and you feel they can only be there, there'll be problem. You see, when it comes to revenue mobilization, when it comes to IGR, comes to bringing money, the South will be more in population. When it comes to politics, the North will be more. Are we fools? We cannot continue to use our head to feed the North. And then they say that like that not come in a population. Bring the North population. Why are they like that? And can you even define the North? Is Bedway North? Is Kogi North? What is North actually? If you define North, are you counting the one group which is Kwara and Kogi come from? Are they not enough? Or look at it. If we look at the population, black population census, the North are more in population than the South. You combine the Igbo and Yoruba nation, the South side, and you say North are like that. It's a lie. Even in the Northern state, they are minorities. So I think it is constitutional to make it binding that you shift power to the South. And again, the party politicians, those are people who are aspirants and aspirations, who have been given, who have been paraded by the Northerners. So when it's, yeah, they are spoilers, but it's That's our problem. The problem is that power shift to the south. It's a constitutional matter. Okay. It's right there in section 14, section 3, section 3181 is well interpreted that the rotational power between all the federated states of the country. Okay. It's not just measuring north or south. Okay. Every part of this country to begin a sense of belonging to participate in the government of its country.
Thank you very much, Barrister Kesley Omerabo. I'll keep tabs with you and get you on the discussion as we move on. But let me come back to the studio here. Barrister Oviawe, you've also been following all the activities leading to 2023. I raised the issue earlier ago that, a few minutes back, that the onus really is on the political parties, particularly the two major political parties, to let us know exactly where they are going, particularly with their primaries. Are you disturbed by some of the feelers that are coming forth?
Yes, I am radically disturbed to the extent that I feel that the first consideration any discerning mind should put in perspective is a large and heterogeneous collection of the country called Nigeria. You can't take that from them. Don't also forget that majority across board and globally of agitations for secession, we don't want to be part of this country again that you have seen across globe. It's a product and function of what they call oppressive tendencies and exclusion from happenings in the country. You can't be part of a country and by virtue of your participation, if you have to look, for example, put into perspective the way political powers, political appointments have been shared in this country is sufficient enough for even the South to be bittered. As I speak to you, the security situation of this country has gotten to a feverish height, and 100%, or to be modest, 99% of those who control positions that ought to provide for the security and welfare of Nigerians are in the hands of the North. What any discerning man can say, or anyone who is critical of, is that security of this country have failed. It means those from that aspect of the country have failed to provide security for Nigeria. I feel that 2023 is another good opportunity to carry the other part of the country along. The constitution is clear that you must distribute power in a manner that give a sense of belonging to other aspects of the country. To think from the body language and scheming of the two major political, because let's make no mistakes about it. From the current perspective and positions of the way and manner this country is being run and tailored, any discerning mind will agree with me that power will fall within the equation of these two major political parties. What is the consciousness of our people we respect to vote? What is the voting population of individuals? Election in this country is hugely expensive, and the money for which Nigerians can be bamboozled are in the hands of these individuals. To concentrate power in the north, like the two major political parties are muting currently, is to call for anarchy. To do that is to is to lead Nigerians, as it were, to Golgotha for crucifixions. We are not followers. The South must be carried along, and like those who have canvassed that if the power is coming to the South, it should go to the Southeast. Let me also tell you, part of the major agitation for power rotation is beyond the fact that Nigeria in itself is a multi-diverse ethnic collection. Individuals over the past who have had the privilege of holding power, either from the South or the North, have not done so well as to bring prosperity to the lives of Nigerians. The confident thing for any other zone is also have a fair share of it and see to what extent they can bring prosperity and smiles for the collective good of their people. The point being made here, that leadership over the years have failed Nigerians. They have not only failed, but they have failed woefully. And where we are currently today in country is the worst state ever, as long as I know. Therefore, to ask that Nigerian power should continue to remain in the north is to take the South as slaves, to ask that power to continue to remain in the North, is to take Southerners as fools, and is to stand on its head the constitutional provisions that ask for rotation. In it first, the issue of federal character have been abused, even in the appointment of judicial officers into federal courts. It has been abused. I feel that the proper thing to do, again, the argument is also at the front burner. That, for example, the APC have been the one that have been in power in the last 8 years. Yeah. That does that compel in itself? Does that compel in itself? And that political party, say the PDP, that have not been in power, that the last known individual from the party who has been in power was from the South, and as such, why are they sounding and acting as though they are not part of this country called Nigerians? When APC emerged and produced the president in the last 7 years, did they relocate out of the country and form the country in utopia, where they were not part of what was happening in the country? Majority or a half of those who were in that party are they not part of those who have formed government in the APC? If out of greed and prohibitive acquisition of wealth, they are trying to shut their face on the reality of the moment or desperation to grab power, they have chose to make the South as not being part of this country by their action. Yeah. They try themselves to blame. Also, there are those over the years who feel they can cover the sun with their hand. They will certainly, if not now, later, find the heat of that sun unbearable.
Pastor Press Agboha, it's very easy for people to say, well, power must shift to the south, maybe microzoning to the southeast. Are you concerned that, in a sense, it looks like even the south have not been able to have that formidable force to engage this conversation, this discussion, this agitation for power to shift to the south, with the fact that you have so many aspirants? I mean, the last count, we're told about 28 people picked from, 25 submitted. That is talking about the APC. On the part of the PDP, we don't know the numbers exactly as we speak at the moment. So let's get a perspective along those lines.
Okay. First point, I need to reiterate it that there's no, you don't call leadership that is saying that the power must go to the north. The two parties are saying that the PDP has announced officially that the ticket is open for every part of the zone. I guess there's no official language as to it must go to the north. Okay. I'm sure the APC also might likely toe that line. So that puts it to rest that the party formation is opening ticket to all Nigerians to aspire, who can afford the bill. Okay. Importantly also is that there are serious-minded Southerners who have made serious agitations against the monopoly by northern elites. And one of them is Governor Yusonwuke, who has come out frontally to confront the candidacy of Atiku Abubakar, that haven't launched you in last election, that you should sit down for other people to also aspire. He is not playing politics of winning. He's playing politics to stop certain elements from getting into presidency. And that is something that every reasonable Nigerians will laud, because nobody was ready to stake. The governor of Akwa Ibom is there. The governor of Delta State is there. The governor of Edo is there. Other certain governors are watching. But Wike is taking all that he has to confront that legacy, stating also that the funding of the party is coming from the South. That if you get the ticket or whatever you are going to get, please go back to your house and break your bank. You are not ready to fund that candidacy. So that's to put to rest your question, okay, that the Southerners are not agitating, leadership are not agitating for core power rotation to the South. They are, but very few. Again, there's an argument that zoning to the South is that the zoning, when you talk about zoning, you talk about equity, that we are not talking about capacity, that it can unleash mediocrity. It's not true. There's nowhere in the country where there are no strong and veritable Nigerians who are ready and willing to govern Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, join together. But unfortunately, they give us an impression that there are some certain set of people in one part of the country who have the leadership in their gen.
Leadership one.
Yes, but if you interrogate them properly, you know that even policy as to agriculture is zero. Policy as to environment and climate is zero. Policy as to core governance issues is zero. The only thing they will know is that there's budget, there's security vote, there is appointment. That is not what politics is all about. Are we getting it now? So it's important for us to be rest assured that the Southerners are advocating. Opening the ticket for both South and North is not for the party. I think it's not something that a human rights lawyer like myself will confront. It's opening it. It's also promote equality and equity. But important
is that not opening the space for the highest bidder in a sense?
Everybody is a bidder, and the highest bidder most times, in politics don't even win. Everybody is a bidder. It doesn't stop the Southerners from aggregating their votes together and bidding very strongly. You have mentioned that a lot of persons have picked form, even from the north, from the south, a lot of numbers have picked the form. They're not just stopping them from stepping down for themselves. We know that stepping down will even be an issue, particularly for the southwest. The south shouldn't have that issue. They should step down for themselves. The north, perhaps, may not have that issue. You will be shocked that if they are going to go to elective vote, those who are picked from the north will start stepping down for themselves. And good enough, those who are already in the south, in the federal cabinet, who have seen the luxury in that office, have already started stepping down. So there are higher numbers of people stepping down in the south than they did not correctly. Maybe you may attribute that to greed, but I think it is falling in queue.
Thank you very much. If you just joined us, it's still Politics Today on independent television and radio, looking at some of the issues that are coming to the front burner in the last couple of days in the build up to the 2023 elections. I'd like to thank you very especially again, our panelists, for being a part of the conversation today. Well, let me get Barrister Kesley Omo Irabo to deepen this conversation. What does all of this portend for the country? Because just now, there are issues that are bedeviling the country. They've been there as far as I can remember, from President Jonathan's era, from President Obasanjo's era, through Jonathan's Yar'Adua's era, through Jonathan, and now we have President Muhammadu Buhari. People have been talking about the need for Nigerians, beginning with the political parties, to open their eyes wide and not to allow greed, determine who they bring forth as the flag bearer of the respective political parties. I'd like to get your thoughts along those lines.
Thank you so much, Sonny Jones. You see, leadership is not a monopoly to a particular part of the country. And you can see what is happening in the country, like we've analyzed it right from the time of Obasanjo down to Muhammadu Buhari. Why are people agitating? Why do we have the People's Congress? Why do we have the Boko Haram? Why do we have the IPOD? Why do we have the Southerners fighting up and down? There is something we must sit down to address. If we cannot live together, let us live separately and still be one. If we cannot live in a federation, let us live in a full federation. The truth is that many people are angry. People are getting more enlightened by the day. It was easier to go back when we have more illiterate and who don't care. Our party, gives a better land. And now nobody's apathetic anymore. People are enlightened. They want to know why they are not involved. So this is creating tension everywhere. Insecurity, you see, kidnapping, killing, is a sense of frustration. And to solve it, we need to sit down again. You see, when we got to Constitutional Conference, sovereign national conference, where the people will determine whether anything holding them together is detachable. If it's no longer there, those make people think impossible. They found change in the future. I say, if the people in the north, not all the north, the agitators in the north, really said, look, we cannot even live within you. Look at the cardinal situation. How many people cardinal wants to remain in the north? How many people in other parts are not happy? There's problem everywhere because it's cabal and fixed power. It's nothing to do with north or south. It is again the rich and poor. It's between the rich and poor and between the Takaras and the Buddhas. Now the time has come. All the political parties we are measuring, how many of them are capable of producing leaders? We have APC and PDP now in government. The two parties are the same people. They migrate between each other. Whoever sees power right now, if PDP will win now, everybody will go back to PDP. After they migrate from PDP, we should know that the problem is between us and them, and not north and south. So that what we should be looking at, for example, I live in Delta. I'm being told that the speaker, because it was the poor man, can't be governor. He's one of us. He will be. We'll fight to the end. So in those states, Federation of Nigeria, if we say that some people must continuously remain in power, they're going for anarchy and chaos, and there's going to be riots, there's going to be insurrection, and this insurrection might lead to disintegration. It happened all of the time. So if we do not do it now, we will find it worse. Let me tell you.
All right, thank you. Let me pass you, Barrister Omora, but I'll come back to you. Barrister Matthias Obayawana. I've heard people say that the country has never been this divided, I mean, since its existence. How is that, how are you bothered about that moving to 2023 in terms of who emerges as the presidential flag bearer? Can we get that kind of quality of person who will be able to forge that unity amongst the country in view of what's been happening leading to 2023?
Well, I'm afraid because the manner in which our leaders have carried out their quest for leadership, they have turned themselves to demigod, to the rulers of the people rather than servant leaders. You know, they are there to serve their selfish interests. You can see that in this government that came into power for the mantra of fighting corruption, if you check the corruption index, it appears to be on the highest. You find people like the Attorney General of the Federation laundering over 80 billion naira. Yeah, naira. You know, and that's just one out of many. You know, and these things have been happening, nothing is coming out of it. Nigeria will be bled. You know, our collective resources have been taken away successively. So having somebody come out the way the manner they are all aspiring to become a president, they are looking at the luxury from that office. They're looking at service. They're looking at what they can get for themselves. You know, so this time we are supposed to be looking at issue of a referendum rather than an election, because the frenzy for political office is just to line their pocket. It is not for the best interest of Nigerians. How can we explain that at a time like this, ASU have been on strike? They could not pay the agreement that they agreed, they reached with ASU, pay the money for them to enable students get back to school. And you have the luxury of buying a presidential nomination form, for 100 million naira. Not just one, several other persons. So who are those behind it? Where is this money coming from? Can you not put this together to settle the issue? So if the concern is really the quest to serve, I should expect them to face these issues first. Do it now before you get it, because you have to look at your antecedents before you cannot forecast what you can do. So judging for the antecedent, they have done nothing. And I don't expect anything good for whatever is happening. Look at the okay, we say by our constitution we are a federation. Are we truly a federation? In a true federal republic, kind of things that are happening in this country, will it really happen? Like a country like America or Canada or whatever it is, where every state should have control of their resources and are able to put the welfare and spirit of the people at the front burner. So right now, all that they are just engaging themselves in is what they can get. Of course, the politics is defined as who gets what, how, and when. So as far as they are concerned now, what do we get? Even this issue of dichotomy of power shift from the south or from the north, whether it comes from the south, whether it comes from the north, after all those presidents that have been there, what more did they do? When President Jonathan was here, all the development that was still brought up there was still in the north. And when anybody comes to power, they're looking at the next election. You look at even in the judiciary, when it comes to electoral period, they fast track proceedings. They make people sit from, make the courses from day to day. In the ordinary, proceeding before court, matter will be in court for the past 3, 4, 5 years. Nothing is said about it. The election matters every day. So all attention are put, into election, political elections, and to see how they can put the same in power. So rather than looking at the interest of the people, if the judiciary is actually after delivering justice, and that is one that drives the economy. If I want to invest in this country and I'm having issues, and if I go to court in the next 5 years, that issue will not be resolved, I will not come. But in politics, there's okay, they give you a timeline, you must do it in so period. Why can you not do the same thing for the other cases? If you are really interested in governance. So all they just care is themselves. So I believe that rather than talking about election at this period, a referendum would have been proper. Let us look at the demography to see whether we can continue to live together in the manner. Look at what happened to Deborah, in Sokoto. Yeah. somebody says something on a WhatsApp platform that is not a religious platform, academic platform, and then somebody came to take her out from the classroom and then took her life just like that, and then people were arrested. Other persons who didn't even know about what was going on, they went to their houses, pulled them out of their houses, beat them up, all of that with impunity. What has happened? So can we continue to live in this manner? So we should really sit down. We have had constitutional conferences. The paper that came out from it was never implemented. We keep deceiving ourselves every day.
Okay, let me
so we must sit down and and really get it right.
All right.
Not the one that they are going.
Let's get to a person, because I've also heard people talk about rather than us focusing on the 2023 election, we should rather focus on the issues that are dividing us, that are creating disaffection, that is widening the gulf amongst the various groups that comprise Nigeria. Let me get to take along that line.
See, you cannot avoid the 2023 elections from the issues that continue to bedevil the country. Because again, the elections is usually an opportunity to determine those who call the shots and determine whether or not the gaps can continue to expand or they can be closed. Because again, in Nigeria, what we have are strong men, not strong institutions. You find yourself in a country where the institutions run. The issue will not be on the next elections, because whether a president comes, yes, the president comes with respect to policy direction and guides towards liberating the country for the collective good for the majority of the people. When you have strong institutions that run 24 hours, that have little or no influence on that the president has little or no influence on, except for policy directions and guide, we'll be able to divert ourselves from talking about the elections. I think the issues we must consider very well is that whoever emerge in the next election will determine how precarious, how further precarious the situation of this country will be. Make no mistakes about it. I see Nigeria as a girl that have just been raped, and we're trying to treat her, and you know, because of the psychology, the trauma attached to it in itself, we're trying for the gate to really cooperate. You further embark on the issue of rape. So again, the girl is caught between life and death. It's a continuous process. The Chinese country is a continuous process. Look at the issue of the brother have been raised. What were those persons charged for? A novice case of murder. You charge them for public disturbance. You didn't charge them for murder. It's irritating. And you have 35 individuals who are standing. Yes, they have right to cancel. They can be defended. What is the thinking of the government with respect to such kind of perspective? And let me also tell you why these individuals must consider very strongly the need to shift power to the South by way of carrying us along. You must show to us that we are part of this entity called Nigeria. As I speak to you, arising from the ineptitude of their part to provide security for this country, particularly the north. The huge level of migration from the north to the south on a daily basis is alarming. Now you create problem for yourself in the north, you are in power, you push the burden to the south. We have majority of the youths that form the basis of the north find themselves every day in the south, thereby putting the pressure on leadership of those in the south by way of security. They are further come to complicate the security situation in the south. People are now running up and down. Kidnapping. Who are those that have been fingered with crimes of kidnapping and armed robberies in our roads in the south? Who are those? Let's tell ourselves the very bitter truth. If you want to continue to hold power, why those in the south bear the burden of the ineptitude in the north? We must sit down on the table of brotherhood and tell ourselves if it is now more favorable to remain in this contractual called Nigeria, or to say bye, that if we are related, we will meet again. But if not, we must be well parted. The need to tell us the very bitter truth. Let me just sound this as a note of warning to our politicians who are asking for power. either 40 million or 100 million, as the case may be. And like my brother rightly said, the accountant general of this country was caught to have laundered 80 billion naira. Students have been at home for many months. How much are they asking for? How much is ASU asking for? They are not asking for amount that is not their entitlement. They are asking for money that is within this country in the hands of private individuals. What have we gotten from the National Assembly? What is their annual budget? How much do they earn? Why creating the impression that we are one Nigerians? Whereby your actions and inactions, you show to us that some persons like we have in Animal Farm are more equal than the other. We will not take that. Today, majority of the appointments, positions of authority that determine the fate of this country, environmentally, economically, politically, and security-wise, are in the hands of these individuals. And this country is going it's on a knife edge in the hands of these individuals. And you are still saying that we should give our life to this individual for another 8 years? If they were ruling this country properly, the thinking will still not have changed. We have also created the impression that there is need to carry everybody along. Not when you have caused this country the worst of challenges in the history of this country. I say no in the money, in its roots. I say no on the stem, and I say no on the branches. The power must be allowed to shift, must be carried along, and you must save us the headache of thinking whether or not it is desirable to continue to remain part of this country called Nigeria.
Right, let's get you to lap up of that, Barrister First Agboha, in view of all the undercurrents that is playing out. I mean, the recent development in Sokoto State seems to have fueled this agitation of the North-South dichotomy. As is always the case, is it a case of politicians just trying to play up religious sentiments to widen this gap, or this is a stark reality we are facing?
Yes, I think it's a stark reality, and we as public commentators must do all we can to continue to make this country be together. It's a country that will enjoy more if we are larger, and we must demonstrate that in our commentary and analysis, and also see how we can figure out a solution that we can make slavery enjoy. First point is the governor of CBN is not from the north, it's from the south. So there are plethora of examples of political appointees delinquency or incompetency of the north from the south. So it's not a routine for one particular region. Okay. The president of the country is just an individual, and he appoints a lot of people who are various ends of affairs, who gives him that, who even guide him or advise him on what can be done to make this country better. Okay. And if you are there, you don't do what you're expected to do. You say, I not is the one ruling, because not is the one ruling, I can misbehave in my own private office, and nothing is happening. So it has an impact on the governance structure. That's not taking away the fact that if the president is from the north, there are certain appointees, there are certain infrastructure that will go back to that north because the president is from there. One, in 2019, there was an appointment from a Directorate of State Service where the DG appointed 29 persons from his village into the force. That's supposed to be equitably go around like level per state. The predecessor came in and did worse. He went to his own local government and picked 41.
That's twice that number.
Yes. So those who were already teaching in private school, he asked them to resign. Why are you in the secondary school? No, that's not a good job. Come to federal. He enlisted them, while Lagos State has 11. Edo has 7. Rivers had 9. Where the oil is coming from? Akwa Ibom had 5. Whereas a local government, I'm not going to the state now, Kano State, I'm talking about a local government, 41. So we don't just analyze and say, okay, let's leave over and call the president for that. No, we took that action to the court. We need the court to interpret it. By federal character principles, was that appointment regular? If it's not regular, then validate it.
It should be annulled.
It should be annulled. So we took for that step on that.
But did that happen?
Yes, we are in court on it. We are in the ECOWAS court on it, and judgment is in July.
Okay.
It should be interpreted. There are international regulations. There are local. We have federal character acts. We have federal character in the Constitution. We have International Convention on Civil Political Rights, who has stated that people from every region should be accommodated in appointments. So you cannot just go to your village and appoint people. And even that can explain why they have not appointed in 2020 to date. Because there's it to observe. It is wrong, and Nigerians must speak against it. It is not that the power is on the north alone. that caused that. It is the appointees who try to use that advantage. It is the advantage that people try to corner from the headship, of the location of the headship, that is the problem that we're having today. The person who charged those who killed that lady in Sokoto, is it the president that said they should charge her they charge those people for public disturbance? No, he did it because of impunity, because of the location of the head.
The body language.
Nothing can happen. But perhaps if the president was from the south, he would not have done that.
So what about the body language?
Yes, it's the body language.
The body language issue.
Yes.
The body language issue,
yes.
if we say, okay, the president, we must fight that president must come from the south. If you are in that school of thought, you'll be so disappointed. Because it is not necessarily that because the president, we have had president from the south. We had Goodluck Jonathan from the south. We had Olusegun Obasanjo from the south. Are we getting it now? Even our Southeast brothers and sisters who are convinced that they have not had power, they have had Secretary of State Government, they have had Minister of Finance, they are currently having Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it is not necessarily those factors. It is the person in those offices that determine what happens. We have had persons representing Southerners, delinquents, incompetent people, those who take last, even their permanent school to university, and those they are appointing. They are not serious-minded people in the fake executive council. Look at when Obasanjo was there. Can you compare those ministers at that time with what they are having now? Are they losing sleep over their failure? You have ministers who leave office by 9, who leave office by 10. So the problem actually, if you want to solve this problem of this country, bring power to the south. If you dissipate your energy, by the time they give you one certain day, you'll be so shocked at what will happen. I don't want to mention names. Those from the south who are currently there, what happened to traders' money? Why are they not following it up? Was it not the same Federal Executive Council that they will distribute himself by just fertilizer distribution? And he went to the international community, and the international community could cast a vote for him because the Minister of Agriculture was able to produce a bread from cassava. It is not sat or not. It is who is the person. The personality of those who will go there at what will solve the problem, and not necessarily where you are coming from.
The onus is on leadership to fish out these qualified
Exactly.
personalities, to feed those positions.
Let me shock you.
Yes.
If we want to even talk about people who can even recruit serious-minded persons to steer the ship of this nation, all the candidates of it, look at it properly, you will see them. With results, you must have shown me the recruitment process that you have done in the past that worked. It's not just coming to say, do a brother, they say, because I'm from the south, I will go down and I will do well. If we circle recruitment procedures as part of the criteria to get a rightful president for this country, check the list, you will see the person there.
All right, thank you very much. It's State Politics Today, and it's reaching you live on independent television and radio. Our studio line will be open, and so you can call and be part of the discussion. We always appeal that when your call comes through, endeavor to be civil in your language. Avoid names calling or casting aspersion on anyone, whether those in the studio or those outside the studio. And be as brief as possible because many others are waiting on the line. Please be brief so that others can also take their turn. While we expect the calls to come, gentlemen, I want to quickly talk about the issue of the Southeast crisis. I've heard people say, look, we should first of all think about how to resolve the Southeast crisis before we even talk about the 2023 elections. But I heard people say, if we get it right with the 2023 election, the Southeast question would naturally disappear. Let me get you started on this, Barrister Kesley Omoirabo. Quickly, tell us, give us your views on this.
Thank you. IPOD is a child of necessity. We are the ones who started the Biafra. We also remember as a couple. We also remember the Biafra war. These are not just elements to be trodden down. Something I learned to read. Every effect, every balance, and effect of parliament accord. If we deny that the Southeast are not being oppressed and repressed and marginalized this country, we are not right for ourselves. It may be that our methodology is crude or wrong. Of course, that's the lemon attack. The individuals in this East want to be able to show that they belong to Nigeria. I heard my colleague say just now that some people appointed and this and that. Does he even really go into politics outside. Their mothers are not enough. Go and look at it. They grow up in the north. They speak outside. When they go for campaign, you see that they are not equal. This is the problem we have. We have a mathematical and physical government in Imo State. Finance is already very well. Finance is the one with those things. Finance wants to speak. Can speak it, but speak outside. They pick people among us that are their own. People that cannot challenge them. And you there are many better deciding. That day, you see somebody that will make the service, the presentation very well. But they will block you if you are vocal, if you are intelligent, if you are bold. No, they need people that can manage and they can very keep quiet. So that is the issue. For the Biafra issue.
Okay.
If you want the agitation of the Biafra to stop, then do what they want. Either you incorporate them to the federation or you let them go. And protest all of IPOP. You see, Narikano is now in prison. And we are saying, hey, he's a terrorist. It's this that. We don't say anything anyhow. How many Boko Haram are in prison? How many Boko Haram are on trial? Okay, you see that they kill Deborah. After that, you can see big people, supporting it that yes, and he got what they want. And now we have 34 lawyers. Those were defense in the magistrate court. Are they really lawyers? Have we investigated them? When were they called to bar? If they are lawyers, and then did they read the constitution, and did they read the law? A murder case, why would it be charged to magistrate court in the first place? And why is the assignment, and why are the lawyers and paying people? Who is paying them? That is what police are supposed to investigate.
Okay.
Who retain these people? Who are they? So when we talk of alcohol, we declare them terrorists, we kill them, we make them, and when we make some people who are hungry there to give information. But they not there. That's the problem we have. So immediately we start to say, look, if I was still young, I would join the Biafra.
All right, by Samira, but let's just stop there. Let's not allow our emotions to override our comments and all of that. All right, thank you very much, by Samira. Thank you so much. Let's get some of our calls in now, so we can also give opportunity to our viewers and listeners to contribute. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. I'm Lawrence.
Norwich, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from Lagos State, Lekki.
All right, Norwich, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I want to say something about Deborah is key. There is no proper action taking place, and Boko Harams are killing people, and nobody is reacting. So it's not better we pass, so everybody going on his own. We at least the country should have to divide so that we have peace in this country. We are not longer one Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, we are better as a big country. We're better when we are bigger, like we are. All we just need to do is to harness the potentials that are inherent in all the regions, in all the states, and all the individuals in this country. And I'm sure that the country will be the best for it. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, good morning, sir. My name is Mr. Nigeria.
Mr. Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Benin, Aduawa.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, when they say when a purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Absolutely.
Look at all the crops of politicians we have in Nigeria today. Who knows the purpose of governing this country?
Yeah.
Who knows the purpose of where this country is supposed to be in next 10 years or 20 years? All they are all about is to acquire wealth. And to stop that, the way we're supposed to choose our leaders, I've said it before, it should be on a platform of, I don't know if you people have watched this Project Fame of MTN. They will select the best voices of young Nigerians, put them together, and try them in all manner of their best. Likewise, this DP Niger. So you put them, select them. If you want to be a councillor, let's select people that want to be a councillor as in their ward or local government. Put them in one place. Let Nigerians vote
assess them.
who will govern them.
Okay.
Because the politicians are the ones choosing our leaders for us. It's not supposed to be like that. It is the people that are supposed to choose their leaders, not politicians. We are still going to get it wrong this time because it's the politicians that want to give us the presidential aspirant.
Okay. All right. let me pause you there. Our next caller is on the line. Hello, caller. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Tony Duke.
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Comrade I'm calling from the...
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to comment, Barrister Obiao, you have said it all. Whether from the north, from the east, from the south, from the west, among the people that is vying to be the president of Nigeria, among of all of them, which one really has the people at heart?
Okay.
People are dying every day, they don't comment, they don't say anything. At the end of the day, we are saying we are one Nigeria. May God help us.
All right, Comrade Abbey, thank you for your contribution. Let me come back to the studio a little bit. Yeah, the Southeast question, resolving it, and the challenge of 2020. Let me get started with you on that. Yeah. Okay, just a moment. Sonny Edosa is back with us. Hello. Yeah, where you are is a bit noisy. If you just step out from there a little bit so we can hear you. All right, go ahead, please.
I'd like to ask one simple question. The president of Nigeria, is he aware of the federal character? If he's aware of the federal character, is he aware of the devolution of power and equity and stability in the country? There was a lot of promises that he made before he came into office. As I speak to you right now, can we even say that his body language testified to the fact that what he's doing is actually bringing the country together? Because there is this attitude of individuals that when your father or your brother is in charge, we can do anything and nothing happens. And we are in that situation right now where we can look back and forth. By the 29th of this month now, the president would have served 7 years in office. Can he look back and beat his chest and say, I've done very well? And what do you call it? In 2009, agreement was signed with ASU. And he came, he said he was going to ensure that he changed narrative. As we speak today, in 2022, ASU is still on strike. Now, what have you done differently? Just yesterday, I listened to your news from your station where Mr. Buhari has traveled to UAE. And we are talking about we do not have money to pay ASU. We said that there's no money to take away a lot of stuff. Why didn't he send the ambassador there to represent him? To the president of UAE that because of his circumstances he was not able to attend. And he didn't just go there. He went there with all his ministers. And all the ministers he went with, they are Muslim. Did they ask him to come with only Muslim and forget about other non-Muslim? Does he know that those things have a way of making the country divided? Because there's some things you will do. It's either you unite the country or you divide the country. If he aware of all those issues, if he's aware of it, the next 1 year, what can he do to ensure that he hand over this country better than the way he met it? Thank you. Good morning.
All right, thank you. Sonny Edosa, I'm sure Mr. President actually has a prerogative as to those who will go with him for such a trip. So we really can't question that because I'm not sure the Constitution made any pronouncement of that. But let's come back to the studio and talk about the Southeast situation as it affects the preparations for 2023.
Well, we can see that the Southeast situation has worsened. I think the IPOB have moved closer away from the core Southeast. They are in Delta State now. You know, continuing the agitation. The base of this agitation is a fight for equity. If the Southeasterners, they are, the Easterners are all over this country, and they are good industrialists. You can see Innocent Motors, you can see, different kind of trade and commerce that they are, put together. They are driving the economy of this nation. And then you will not have somebody from the Southeast, have a taste of power. And then you regard them as second-class citizens. The president said the vote he got from that area was negligible. They didn't vote for him as such, so they will also get less attention. Whereas you are the president of Nigeria. Once you are in there, don't look at how you were voted in. You should stamp your feet on the ground and let the body language show that you are a father of all and make everybody together. But that has not been the case. So the crisis in the Southeast has deepened. Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention. I should expect them to sit around, sit down with him and find a way of easing, get him out of custody, then sit down with the people and look at the way forward. Because before Mr. President came into power, he mentioned that once he comes in, we allow restructuring. How much restructuring has he allowed?
All right, maybe by stuff you
so
will tell us
how
much of restructuring
exactly, and that is why
now.
IPOB agitation is still there.
The Southeast question.
See, I think the handlers of that Southeast issue didn't handle it properly. Let's not forget how it started. Let's remind ourselves that the activities were mere agitations.
Yes.
But they wanted to be on their own. The agitation didn't just start here. Don't forget about this Nigerian Civil War. Agitation for independence between 1967 and 1970. Different organizations, Wasuwike led one at that time, the movement of the survivor of Biafra, MASOB. Nnamdi Kanu headed the IPOD. And you ask yourself, what is the core of their agitation? Within international instruments, do they have powers to ask to be on their own if they feel they are not fairly treated?
They do.
In the contraption called Nigeria? The answer is yes, they can. Again, the issue is in what manner would they go about it? I am never in support of armed conflict. I'm never.
This should be more engagement.
Yeah, but again, don't also forget that whereas they had commenced in the manner they went, the president got the military to sweep on them.
So that changed the whole.
Exactly.
The other issue. So again, why you needed to interface with us? Let's sit on the table of brotherhood, convince us of what to become part of this country, accommodate us in the most proper manner. You choose to engage us with force. And just to do this, what is happening in Southeast is less than 10% of what is happening in the North. And I am not sure with the way they are merging forces with what you find there.
Yes. I think what's happening in Southeast, the modus operandi of the agitation is criminal, and it should not be encouraged. They should come to the table and vote out infidels and vote in the faithful to push in their points.
All right, Mr. Kesley, you want to give us the last word on the Southeast? Yeah, quickly. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesley Omerabo. Thank you very much for the views that for being a part of the program. Thank you very much, Vice Press. Thank you so much. Vice Barry, thank you, Vice.
Welcome.
That's our package for today on Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. Be sure to join us next week, Saturday. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye for now.